Hi, guys. My name is Jessica Wellington, and I am your host. This is my podcast. I still have not come up with a name for it, but I go by Yessie, and today I wanted to talk about the creative world and kind of how I got started. We are sitting in the creative studio that I work out of. I have a office that's under construction right now. So when I thought about the podcast and how it's still gonna be postponed, I was like, no, let's just get started and sit on the floor and have it just be raw. I sometimes feel like I'm living the dream because I remember having kids and thinking to myself, how in the world do parents do it? Because I know I want to be the one to take them to school. I know I want to be the one to pick them up from school. And that doesn't seem like a reality for a lot of people. So for years, I prayed for a way. And honestly, I now know that it was all always wrapped up in the way God created me in his image, um, which is creative and artistic. And I do consider myself to have an eye for things, and I have my whole entire life. So the way I got started was, let's say, maybe when I was like 8 or 10, my dad bought me a digital camera. And I remember taking off the lights, like the lamp part of the shade on a lamp. And I would just like expose the lights bare and like create my own lighting, take my own pictures in certain different ways, and then upload them to MySpace. Who remembers MySpace? Because I thoroughly like believe that MySpace was probably the reason like my eye got sharpened at such a young age. I don't know how else it would have. Oh, I was coding, I was editing, like I knew everything about everything at such a young age. And I'm grateful for it because that led into photography just always being a part of my life in my teenage years. And I was just very creative. I was also a dancer. After high school, I got a $20,000 scholarship to go to beauty school, cosmetology, and I didn't stick to hair. I started waxing because that's where the money was. I was living in Hawaii and that's where the money was. And I lived in Hawaii for 3 years. And when I lived there, I remember wanting these farmhouse style frames. And I was watching people DIY them from pallets, like just taking apart pallets. And I was like, I can do that. And so I started making my own frames. And little did I know, like, all these people that started seeing like my home decor, they didn't make farmhouse style things yet. Like, it was not in Ross. It was not in TJ Maxx. Like, it was not accessible. It was not accessible. Not even like in bigger like stores was it accessible. This was, I would say, like 2013, 2014. And so when people saw my home decor, they started wanting that same kind of style. And so then they would put in orders with me. I just like kind of started a woodworking business out of nowhere. Yeah, very, very Jesus of me. And so that became something that took over, even like throughout having both of my kids. Like, I had moved to Georgia for 3 years and my business just like boomed. I was making barn doors, I was making the most beautiful beds and tables, and I was designing them. I remember like engineering certain things that like I couldn't find the plans for, and I was just so into it. I was so into building, but that slowly started dying. I don't think that like in your early 20s you realize like making your passions a business can like really wear down on you. So it did wear down for me. Uh and around the pandemic I moved back home and there was a no more kid. for me to create it. So I had got a 9 to 5, and it was my first 9 to 5 ever. And that was around the time that I started praying, like, Lord, my kids are 2 and 3, and I want to pick them up from school. Like, I don't want to have a 9 to 5. What is going on right now? And so then I started pursuing tattooing eyebrows, which is called microblading. And that was very fun and artistic. But that's kind of how I picked up editing and videography. I got really into um taking the videos of the eyebrows that I was doing. And I also got into the videos of the furniture I was making when I was woodworking. And so all of these things kind of were sharpening my eye as I went, and landed me here where I am today. I learned editing software through the microblading content that I would create. And from there, people began noticing and like realizing my eye. And when you have an eye for things, like, people recognize when a video or a photo is taken by you or made by you. And so I slowly transitioned into going to nursing school, because after the pandemic, I just like had realized I kind of wanted something more stable. And I had the opportunity to go to nursing school. And then from there, I was doing photography and videography on the side, which opened up where I am today, because through working with videographers and photographers, I actually didn't like holding the camera, and I liked directing, and I like going home and sending the editor or the brand off with a product that would really represent the vision that was spoken about in the meeting or in the consultation. A lot of the times, if you're the only person on set holding a camera, you could go home missing shots or missing the point of the brands like hiring you. I really liked being able to go home and capturing what we initially spoke about in the consultation. And that required me becoming a creative director. And so when I realized that I could work with brands, hire the videographers, hire the photographers, direct them, and then ensure that like our shot list was the priority. Alongside campaigns, I worked with personal brands. And so with personal brands, things can be a little bit different, because you're there a lot more for the long run uh afterwards, after you shoot and after you edit. For a campaign, after something is shot, edited, and approved, you're good to go. If they hire you again, dope. Most likely they'll work with you if they liked you, right? With a personal brand, a lot of the time, they need certain packages and a lot more deliverables, because they want to be able to have some of the personal brands should include photos, videos, things that they can disperse on different platforms. Working with personal brands as a creative director, sometimes I step in as an editor. If I am taking home a couple of projects that I feel like me and the client should go over revisions a couple of times. That way there's not an editor involved in having to go over revisions with me regarding branding for a company that he's not really involved in. So, um, different types of shoots have different types of purposes. So it worked out perfectly for my life and the life that I had asked God to give me, to be able to shoot a couple times a month. With that said, that is how I got started. And I've had a lot of adventures, and the journey is just getting even better and better. I have a really big project this year that I'll be bringing you guys along for throughout my blogs, because that one will probably last a couple of years, and it will be me commuting. So I will be able to go to Texas and New York over and over and over and over to my heart's desire. And they are also two things that I asked God for. So everything that I've asked God for, He literally has handed me within the last 4 months. And all I required was me networking and me staying in contact with people regarding their brand and being invested. You have to genuinely care. If you do not care, it will show. I am very invested, and I give my clients 24-hour access to me. Um, a lot of people say that that could be burnout, but like I said, I work with a few brands a year, and um, to me, it's always worth it to be there for somebody when they have an idea or when they have something they want to enhance. Like, you just never know in the creative world and in someone's creative mind what can be that $1 million idea, or what can be that that spark. Your client's spark matters too. And I encourage their creative abilities a lot, even though half of them are entrepreneurs or they're people that haven't like sharpened their artistic abilities too much. That's why they're hiring me. I still do express anything that drops down into your brain, any little download. Please share with me, because you never know what I can expand from that as well. I really cherish this job and this position that I feel like, again, I said God gave me. That is all for my little spiel on how I entered the creative world. Again, this was just how I entered it. It rarely scratches the surface about it, or kind of what I do or how I think. But I definitely like wanted to create this episode because your eye, if you have the eye in the body of Christ, we all have and pertain to the image of God in some way. I believe I have his eye and his heart. And he can definitely bless you when you identify that. If you feel like you also identify with having that piece of the body of Christ, and that you feel like God has blessed your eye and your artistic abilities, please, 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 let's connect. I would love to collaborate with more artists, because finding my brothers and sisters that are artistic, I feel like we make Earth just a lot more fun. And if you stayed and watched it this long, I don't know how long this episode is. I don't think it was very long. Thank you. And follow me on my other platforms, which should be listed below.